So Rob, welcome to FrightFest. Your film The Sadness has the prestige of closing the first UK film festival back post-pandemic. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I feel fine, like logically in my mind, but I feel like my heart is racing a little bit. But it's entirely involuntary. I also feel a little bit clammy, and I'm also excited for the film. I think that the audience is really going to enjoy this one.
And I mean, you've already screened the film at Fantasia. You bagged a nice little award while you were over there, but now you're about to see it on the IMAC screen. Are you prepared to see this carnage in that screen?
Yeah, I've seen this movie like probably 50 times already, and it's difficult to like really. I mean, every time I watch the movie, even like the goriest scenes, it's just like. All I can remember is just sort of like how after we said cut, how much like we laughed about it or whatever. So it's really difficult for like the filmmaker to see the film the same way that the audience does, I think, ever. So that's why you go to the screenings, so that you can kind of vicariously see the film through the eyes of an audience, you know?
I mean, you're a Canadian director, living and working out of Taiwan. You've made, this film in the Taiwanese language. What challenges does that pose?
Okay, am I talking too much? Should I give curt answers? Okay, no, okay. So I don't know. Just, so anyways, the challenges is just basically, you don't have. It's hard to sort of like understand like colloquialisms and to really get a sense of sort of like the meaning, like the under meaning of like certain language things. So all I can really do is trust my dialogue editor. And just try to really focus on like the feelings and emotions and stuff, and also writing the script so there's not that much important dialogue in the first place.
I mean, obviously, this film, I believe everything was done in the pandemic. You wrote, the idea came to you, you wrote it, you shot it, you edited it. What was that experience like? Making something when we all thought the world was ending.
Because Taiwan handled the pandemic so effectively early on, there was like a good 12 to 14 months where it just didn't really feel like there was anything wrong. Like in Taiwan, the pandemic was something that was happening elsewhere, so it's kind of like it was almost like a non-issue. We just kind of took advantage of it. In fact, I mean, it's not like we had to make the movie in spite of the pandemic. We made the movie because of the pandemic, because we knew that there wouldn't be any competition in January, and we could just have sort of like a Taiwanese movie in theaters without having to compete with American ones.
I mean, am I right in saying that this film, although it's set in Taiwan, it's not set in Taiwan as we know it?
It's definitely not Taiwan as I know it. I had to kind of create a Taiwan that's a little bit less functional. Like people are a little more disobedient, and critical of the government. It's a lot more kind of like it is maybe in the West, where there's a lot of disinformation and there's a lot of conflicting opinions, and everybody knows, hey, I know better than you, and this guy knows better than that guy, and nobody can agree on anything. So I had to kind of create that. Generally speaking, from my perspective, it just seems like Taiwan has a good sort of. Taiwanese people have a good sense of like civic responsibility, and they just kind of, when the government says to do something, they'll just kind of like, well, we better do it. If we don't do it, no one else is going to do it for us. So that, I think, is kind of the way that they look at something like a pandemic, and we can really see like sort of the strength of Taiwan when we see a pandemic happening. We sort of see like, oh, this is where this kind of behavior and predisposition kind of like comes in handy when sort of the population has to work together as a whole to accomplish a task, and it's not so much about like stark individualism. So that's my answer.
And the film, obviously, it's built quite a bit of controversy because it deals with some strong subjects. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. As a filmmaker, why did you decide that you needed to tell this story in this way?
I decided to tell the story with a lot of graphic violence because I just felt like there wasn't a big budget and we needed to sort of stand out, and I wanted to make something that would make a really loud noise, because how often do you get to direct a film? Sometimes people want to do it their whole life, and sometimes they never get a chance. So I had a chance to do it, so I just wanted to make a really loud noise with a small budget. So I just thought vulgarity and cruelty are free, so we'll just make it a really nasty movie, but try to treat it tactfully, and hopefully somewhere between good taste and bad taste, it'll fall someplace where everyone can kind of like it. And I think that so far it seems to be successful so far.
And I think one of the things that really stood out to me is, as much as it's dealing with, sexual violence and aggression and things, that there is a lot of there's a lot of honesty to it, especially within the gender roles and the way that the women are. And I really like the fact that Kat she's stalked by this one particular person, which kind of in a way is like when a survivor of trauma, that's always there, that's always present with them. Is that something that you were trying to sort of get across with that?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make the characters kind of fair. And also I kind of wanted, I like to call these kinds of characters like coat hanger characters. Like, they're not extremely rich characters, but there's enough there so that they feel like real people, but also you can kind of hang your coat on them, and you can be like, yeah, I think I'd probably react that way, or maybe that's the way that I wish I would react in that situation. And we have a male analog, and we also have a female analog. In fact, we also have a male analog and a female analog for infected people too, with Molly and the businessman. So that it was kind of like. It was kind of just like creating avatars for people, so that they can put themselves in the shoes of the characters. And I think that's maybe, if the film scares you, then maybe that's why it works, because it's easy to put yourself in the situation. What would I do? Yeah.
And now that the sadness has been unleashed into the world, have you started cooking up something else?
Pardon me?
Have you started working on your next project?
I mean, I'm always writing. I have lots of ideas. Just waiting for, that right offer. You know what I'm saying? Got to pay the bills. Got to keep the lights on. Yeah, but I'm definitely writing stuff, and I got some good ideas. I actually had a good idea on the train to Brighton the other day. Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk about that maybe later when there's something a little more cohesive. And yeah, that's it.
Well, go and enjoy your film. Thank you.